Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I sit down and talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before. Shout out to all 472 subscribers at the time you're making this video. I truly do appreciate it. Shout out to Saratoga Peanut Butter, and shout out, of course, to TT Artisans. This will, they did not give me this. I bought this with my own money, but I've been shooting with the 51.2, and man, there is a lot to say about this. And a lot of questions that have to be risen because of this lens, because this is a badass lens. It's a very, very, very good lens. This whole video is going to be about TT Artisans 51.2. The whole video is going to be about manual focus lens with Fujifilm. The whole video is going to be about vintage glass. The whole video is going to be about, you know, what exactly are we looking for when we say a lens has great optical quality. And the whole video is going to just basically be asking the question, you know, do we know what we mean when we say good optical quality, or do we know that someone else said it and that's where we're getting our information from? Because that's a big thing, especially surrounding this lens. That's the thing. This lens is at the forefront of questions of optical quality and what it means for you, for me. Like, what exactly do we mean? So I purchased this lens maybe about a month ago. This was just a fun purchase. It was $100. I saw some reviews. I saw that it was mimicked basically an old Zeiss lens that I really liked. The formula, everything like that, how many elements, the way they set them up together. It's an old copy. I mean, it's one of the reasons why Leica glass is still, with their legacy glass, it is still the best glass out there. The reason being is because they do not change formula. They put a lens out there, and they're not trying to change something to, oh, we want to remove the chromatic aberration, we want to remove a lot of this distortion, we want to remove the purple and green fringing, all these things. They're not worried about that. Why? Because Leica understands our glass has a look, and the look has been pleasing to people for how many years? Why would we change it now? And that's why their glass is so expensive. It's not because the Leica badge. I can tell you this right now, Leica glass would stand up on its own regardless of the Leica badge, because you can put a Leica lens on anything. And people will say, oh, you know, Leica sensors were built to blah, 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 and that's why you get the Leica look. It's not. Listen, fuck you. We're not talking about digital bodies. Let's be honest. If you put a Leica lens on an analog Canon P, you're gonna get the same fucking image. And that's where this lens found me. So when I got this lens, I looked up reviews on it, and it was a mixed bag. Some people liked it, but they complained about chromatic aberration. They complained about pin cushion distortion. They complained about it being soft at 1.2 and the corners. Still not fucking getting that one. They complained about it being soft until in the center, a little bit soft, not super sharp. It doesn't get to a sharp until f4. And in my mind, usually whenever something's written negative about a lens, it's stuff that, it doesn't really owe itself to how well the lens performs. People have to nitpick when they're reviewing. So I completely understand that. I didn't hold it against anyone, but there were a lot of, whether on B&H, Adorama, whether on Reddit and things like this, oh, I returned my copy, junk copy. There were a lot. I mean, it's not majority, but there are a lot of, oh, it's not even sharp. It's not sharp for portraits. It's too dampened. I don't like the clicks. It doesn't reach here, and it doesn't line up to infinity evenly. Soft in the corners. It has lens flaring. All these things. And whenever I read those things, that's whenever I get interested in stuff. The reason why I'm buying the 35 1.2 from 7 Artisans is because it's got the same thing. There are a lot of people complaining about the way the lens looks. And you got to think about this. When you're comparing these lenses to vintage or to current lenses, they are not going to hold up. Period. These are copies of vintage recipes. And so that's the thing. Whenever people are talking about these lenses, they're stacking them up against autofocus lenses left and right from Fujifilm, from Leica, from Canon, from Nikon, from Sony. That's not the lenses to compare these to. There's a reason why you're having to buy this lens instead of a $1,400 14mm 1.8 from Sony. It's because you don't have fucking $1,400 to spend on a 1.8. There's a reason why you're buying this lens over the 51.0 from Fujifilm. It's because you don't have the fucking $1,500 to spend on the 1.0 from Fujifilm. At one point, you're gonna have to stop bitching about things that you can afford not being like the things you can't afford. Any lens will perform for you if you learn how to compose, you learn how to shoot correctly, meaning your exposure triangle, and you stop bitching. And that's what I had to do with this. There are things I don't like about it. I don't like the flare, especially whenever you're shooting with this thing into backlight. You're gonna get a nasty little flare on the bottom, and it's very, very prevalent. So what do? I avoid shooting directly into the sun at certain angles. I move my feet a couple inches, a couple feet. That's it. It's an amazing fix. Some of you may not know about that trick, but I'm pretty sure someone online is going to have a beginning tips for photographers. I think I saw one called "How to Not Be a Photography Noob Anymore." Hopefully that guy put that in there. You can use your fucking feet to move around and recompose. So there's that. The other thing I don't like is the weight. It's heavy as shit. I mean, I know it's a vintage copy, but it's heavy as shit. And literally on my X Pro 3, this thing tips the X Pro 3 over. But other than that, it's an amazing lens. It reaches. All the dials and everything are lined up. All the clicks are lined up. Everything, whenever it comes to your focusing distance and whatnot, lines up. It's a beautiful built large element lens, and I think it looks great. And even better than that, this thing has become my favorite lens to pick up during the day. It is. I've got a couple other lenses from Fujifilm, and I've tried out a lot. I've owned quite a few, 5140, 90f2, the 56 1.2, the 16 1.4, basically all the 1.4 lenses, the 1.2 lenses. This lens is just, unfortunately, funner, even funner than my 35 1.4. And the reason being is because on all those lenses, I can't manual focus for shit. So if I ever want to feel like I can manual focus, I've got the longest throw in the world. And this just has an amazing short throw. It's a fantastic boom, I know where I'm at. Boom, I know where I'm at. I love the clicks on this because I've already got them timed out. So I know that going one right there, that's me at f1.4. Two more, now I'm at f2. Two more, now I'm at 2.8. Two more, now I'm at f4. And so on and what have you. I've already got the clicks down. I've had this thing in my hand enough. And it's great because, not only is this lens fantastic and looks good, but it takes great images. And honestly, in low light, it's been something that's fun. I've been carrying this around, shooting it at sitting still 800T formula, and it's been great. It's been fun. The shots I've gotten out of these with my fiance, with my family, with my dog, with just anything in landscape, they've been great shots. They've been fun shots. This is a fun lens to use. I've been able to test out Fujifilm's different type of focusing systems for manual focus, whether it be the focus peaking, whether it be the split focus, whether it be the prism, and I'm trying to find which one works best for me. But every single time I'm shooting, once I'm stopped down to 2.8, it's like I'm not missing focus. I mean, it's so clear. Even in the EVF of the X Pro 3, which I'm not even sure is that fantastic, everything is clear as day. It's a great lens. I believe it honestly, straight out of camera, if I wasn't to put any kind of setting on it, maybe just put like classic chroma and Astia, it's great for color rendering. It's got great contrast in this. I like the contrast. Is it as punchy and does it have greatest contrast as, like, let's say a Leica lens? No, but it's pretty damn close. I mean, it really is good. Honestly, this has better punchy, this has better micro contrast than the 50f2, plain and simple. The reason I'm returning, or actually selling the 50f2, so if you like the 50f2, honestly, I'm trying to sell it for cheap just to get rid of it. I'll sell it to someone for like $340 or whatever, and I'll pay for shipping. I don't really give a damn. Really good condition and whatnot. But the reason I'm selling the 50f2 is simply because this lens does everything I need it to do. I don't need the 50f2 because I'm satisfied with this. I just don't need the lens, because when I go out, and it was really telling when I went to go shoot for a client, I put the 50f2 back in my bag after I had it on my camera for one shot, and I switched over to this lens right here. I would rather manual focus and painstakingly try to hit them at 1.4 and 1.2 than just shoot with the f2. And it had nothing to do with the background blur. It had to do with the feel and the look, the 50f2 being so clinical. And that's one thing that, I'm kind of noticing. One thing I'm kind of not against, but a lot of the stuff we're shooting with now is super duper clinical. It's super duper, the background renders the same in all these, except for whenever you're talking about different aperture ranges. So when you have a 1.2 aperture or 1.0 for Fujifilm, or you have a 1.4, 1.8, yeah, the background blur renders differently, but there's nothing else to it. It's a smooth background blur. Now, some of you may be bokeh whores, and you may be like, well, shoot with lights behind you. What does the bokeh look like? And I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't give a fuck what bokeh looks like. Cat's eye bokeh, round bokeh. I'm just gonna tell you right now, My mom, Priscilla, she didn't raise no bitch. So I ain't worried about bokeh, and I ain't gonna bitch about it. So if your mom didn't raise no bitch, go ahead and hit a like on this and let me know. I really do appreciate it. So, you know, it's just weird. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we're putting so much emphasis on how things look, and we want everything to look the same. Every one of these lenses, we want to have perfect dot round bokeh. We want to have the same perfect smooth color and the micro contrast. And so basically every focal length looks the same. We don't want distortion. We don't want pincushion distortion. We shoot charts because we want to see, does it not have distortion? Can I correct it in post easily? We want it to have the same color rendering. We want it to have as fast as it can be. And you know, that's cool and all. But what happens is when people get lenses like 1.0 and 1.2, what do you want to shoot in? 2.8 and 2? No. You want to shoot in 1.0 and 1.2, 1.4. You want to shoot as fast as you can because you're in love with the bokeh. And so if every single lens, like for Fujifilm, for example, this is why I can't stand right now. We have a 35 1.4. Now you have a 16 1.4 and 18 1.4. We have a 23 1.4. If Fuji starts updating a lot of these lenses to these 1.4 versions and these fast 1.0s and things like that, let's say they redo the 90 f2 at 1.4. Everything's going to be clinical. You're going to have the same look in every focal length and everything like that. Let's say if we were to get rid of all the distortion, everything, what would be the difference in your photos? Where would the character be? Because one is maybe a little bit more compressed in the background, things like that. It takes away the flavor of these lenses. It takes away what makes the lens the lens. What makes it so great? What makes it so wild? The wonky things that it does to the image. The weirdness of the bokeh. The fact that more things are in focus in f2 than a 1.2. I mean, you're really shooting yourself in the foot because there's no variety. And that's why I love this lens, is because that's where it comes in. Because even at 1.2, this lens looks nothing like potentially a lens made in the same factory, the same one, at the same focal length, at the same aperture. But even more, this looks like nothing of my Fujifilm lens except the 35 1.4. This is the only one that looks somewhat similar to the 35 1.4 at 1.4. My favorite lens. And so I can't say enough about how great this thing is. The images that come from this are fantastic. If you're feeling like you need a manual focus fix, you shouldn't want Fuji to build manual focus lenses. Make Fujifilm, tell them you want them to build autofocus lenses with a nice manual focus ring or manual focus clutch. We don't need more manual focus lenses from Fujifilm. I don't need a first party $500 manual focus lens that only goes to 1.4. I don't. I really don't. Period. Because that's what'll happen whenever you can go ahead and get you a 1.250 for a little bit over $100 and have just as great results. And the other thing, is that people want to talk about, when it comes to sharpness and stuff like that, and I've already talked about it yesterday that I don't like shooting charts and I think it's bullshit. This lens is more than sharp enough. It's a great lens. It's a very, very sharp lens. This is more than sharp enough. This lens will do everything you need to do and some. Honestly, when you're shooting portraits, like I said, everyone's putting on black pro mist filters. I don't need a black pro mist filter on this. The only time I put a black pro mist filter is whenever I'm shooting night shots and I want there to be a little bit of a glow. That's it. And that's more specifically for the lights having a certain look to them, and not and blooming a little bit and not just having a hard cutoff. This lens is great. It has that same vintage feel. It has a, if I was to use this for shooting video, I would be able to do very, very well with this because of how this manual focus clutch is, how it has actual definitive stops, how everything is correct, and all of the distance marks line up together. And the fact that, this already has a softness to it from 1.2 to f4. This already has a softness with it. And it might be because of the fact that it's built off an old nasty ass vintage lens that a lot of people would say would not hold up today because it doesn't have the same clinical rendering as a Sony 51.2 or the Canon 51.2, which is great, which is fantastic. But there just comes a point when you have to realize, if I was to take your photo of your whatever 51.2 and then with mine and then everyone else's in the world from different camera systems at a 51.2 and put them on a wall, do you think people would be able to tell you what lens your photo was taken on? Most likely not. Do you think they would give a damn? No, they wouldn't. If your photo's boring, the same as everything else and shit, they're not gonna gravitate to it. But they're gonna gravitate to the ones that are creative, the ones that have great composition, the ones that are edited great, the ones that have great color. They're not gonna gravitate to you just because yours on the bottom says shot with RF 51.2. They're not. Not everyone's gonna say that's the best one because it was shot with a, no, they're not. They're not. They're not gonna go and say, oh, that's the best one because it was shot with a Summilux. They're not. Or a Noctilux, whatever the measurement system now is for DP review. They're not gonna say that. There might be some people that are fanboys or have that system be like, oh man, look at how great that lens is. I want that lens, but they're gonna be intrigued by every shot. Their eyes are gonna be drawn to the ones that are the most creative. Honestly, and if you're just shooting the same thing over and over and over again, you know, it's not gonna really lend itself to people wanting to jump on the bandwagon of checking out your stuff. And even more, I don't think there's anything wrong with having these fast lenses and autofocus and using them for portraits and everything, but I'm just saying, why do we want everything to look clinically the same? Because that's the direction we're going. We're going the direction, especially with Fujifilm, which is really pissing me off. We're moving the direction to where the speed matters more than the formula, period. And the speed matters more than the weight and the size, the things that people went to mirrorless for. Are you guys not disturbed by the fact that we went from talking about how mirrorless is lighter, mirrorless is better because of all these things, and now we're getting mirrorless cameras that are going to weigh the exact same as their DSLR counterparts, and we're gonna have these mirrorless cameras that literally have lenses that weigh very similar, if not the exact same as their DSLR counterparts? Does that not bother anyone? Because it bothers me. Because honestly, if that's the case, I can, like, you know, sometimes I miss the OVF. If that's the case with Fujifilm and that's the direction everyone's going, I might as well very, very quickly jump on a 1DX, you know, or a 1DX Mark II, and then stock up on EF lenses, and then have myself my own little bundle and just keep shooting with that since that's the direction we're going. I might as well, you know, jump to, a Nikon system and hook myself up with that with a D3 or something. If we're going this direction, we just need to go the direction, but you got to let us know. But the thing is, Fujifilm, Canon, Sony, you guys have to remember why people switched wasn't just for the autofocus, because your autofocus was complete and total shit. Remember that, Canon, where you started. Remember Fujifilm, where you started, and remember Sony, how bad you were with the A7. Your autofocus was shit. So when people switched, it wasn't for the size of the grip to be more DSLR-like. It wasn't because you had big, heavy-ass fucking glass. No, it was strictly because it was a lighter, more compact system. Do you remember whenever all the systems, whenever you looked for camera bag, were CSC or CCS, compact camera system bag? Manfrotto made a complete and total line of street bags that were designed for compact camera systems. That's what mirrorless was called back in the day. It was something that we weren't even throwing mirrorless around. Mirrorless wasn't even the wave. Manfrotto made like one line of CCS bags. That's what everyone's calling them, compact camera systems. And we moved away from that. Why? Because unfortunately the gatekeepers, the people who are professionals came in, and I need a camera that looks fucking professional so that my family of 6 that is coming in for an Easter Sunday photo don't think I'm unprofessional and walk out on me. They don't give a fuck, bro. They really don't. Honestly, change your fucking t-shirt, stop looking like a pervert with the way that your eyes glare and stuff like that, and gloss because you think you're the shit, and shave your fucking goatee. Lose some weight, go for a walk, do something else. Stop wearing flat caps. Thank you. I wear glasses. I need these bitches. Don't wear glasses unless you need them. Don't do the round ones unless you need them. So they fit some people's faces. But like, stop making it into a thing to where like you need to look professional. You don't need to fucking look anything. Let your work talk. They see your portfolio. They want to work with you. Work with me, bro. That's it. Don't let your insecurities and you trying to compensate for where you're lacking somewhere else determine what you're doing with your gear. But it goes back to this. This lens right here and the manual focus lenses that are coming from TT Artisans and from 7 Artisans, you know, Zonlai and Medikonen, these are gold. These are amazing, especially for the Fuji X system, because they may not all be the lightest lenses, but you know that 35 1.2 will be, but they just bring you something different. They bring you character. They bring you fast apertures with a certain look. They give you the feeling you want. Sometimes you just want to shoot manual focus. These are a still. Anyway, man, that's it. This lens is a must buy to me. No matter if it was budget or not, from Fujifilm or not, this would be a lens that I would buy over and over again. I'm just glad that it's around $100 because this is a steal of a lens. Go out and buy it if you can. If you don't want to, I don't give a fuck. But it's fantastic. And if you didn't have a good experience with this lens, that's on you, man. Try to buy another copy or just move on. I mean, it doesn't affect how I feel about this thing. So, but that's it. Have a good one.